Welcome back to the Just a Bit Inside podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kendrick. On today's episode, we're jagging off with DraftKings host Emerson Lotzia, the biggest Jaguars fan I know. Emerson joins us to reflect on the Jaguars season, shares his thoughts from the comeback win over the Chargers, and gives us his firsthand experience from Arrowhead Stadium during last week's playoff game. We also break down the upcoming conference championship battles this weekend. We do a quick Red Sox Winter Weekend recap and a lot more. As always, we have a lot of fun with Emerson, so let's get to it. All right, everybody. So one of my favorite guests of all time is back with us, fresh off the trip from Kansas City to see his beloved Jaguars. We got Emerson Lotzia here in the house, DraftKings host. You can see him weekdays on The Sweat at DK Live on Twitter. Emerson, how we doing?
What's up, man? Good to be back with you. Good to be back from Kansas City. Wish it was victorious. It was not. We lost, and I lost many things besides my dignity, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, of course, Emerson, you're the biggest Jaguars fan I know. We all the way back to my days in Florida. I knew you were a big Jags guy. So, kind of looking at this season, let's kind of look grand scheme of things. It was a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Then you had the great wrap up to the year. What are kind of your thoughts overall in the season?
I mean, it was an emotional season, one that started out like 2-7, like something like that. And I'm just thinking, all right, majority of these losses too have been by one score. And I'm like, man, you're right there. Once you become that team that starts winning those one score games and not losing the one score games, that's when you can really become a good football team. The culture changed with Doug Peterson. All of a sudden they, started having these huge balls and going for two, like when they beat the Ravens. And then there was the overtime win, the pick six against the Cowboys. And you're like, man, this is something special. And Trevor Lawrence started looking like the Trevor Lawrence, like, the prodigal son, like the son that was promised.
The Messiah.
Yeah, dude. And he's like our Lord and Savior. And he started delivering and everything started coming together. And I just thought like, it was a fun run, man. I was a lot disappointed with like what went down in Kansas City because all of a sudden they didn't have that aggressiveness that they had, especially that helped them have the third best comeback victory in playoff history, a week prior against the Chargers. They just started becoming conservative. They didn't start blitzing Patrick Mahomes here, but big picture, man, like Doug Peterson, like his guidance, his coaching helped Trevor Lawrence take the next step. We've got Calvin Ridley is going to be in the mix next year. Trevor Lawrence is going to get that strong 1A like receiver. Christian Kirk did a great job this year. And I think you could make an argument he was the team MVP like after Trevor Lawrence, but I think Jacksonville now just got to navigate really some of its cap constraints, make some key additions to the secondary. But the window for true consistent contention, I think could open as soon as next year, man.
Yeah, because I think Christian Kirk's one of those guys where a lot of people scratch their head at the contract. I think it was like 4 years, $84 million. You're like, for Christian Kirk, a guy who was the number 2 in Arizona and like really didn't have that great of numbers, but he really came on at the end of the year. But let's go back a little bit to that Chargers game. Where do you kind of rank that in the history as far as like wins in Jaguars franchise history?
I mean, it's easily top 5. I'd say like, we had a couple wins, 96 season, our second year in existence, like definitely the playoffs and beating the Bills and then the Broncos and then losing to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. I mean, there was the win. It was more of a Morton Anderson missed like short field goal the last week of the season. I believe it was against the Falcons and he missed an extra point. And that's what sent the Jaguars to the playoffs that year. So a lot early on. But it's top 5 off the top of my head. And I mean, hell, I could probably make an argument that it was the most exciting playoff victory in franchise history. There hasn't been a whole lot of them, but you look at big picture, Chris, like just historically, it's the third largest comeback in NFL playoff history. Like there's no arguing. Like you're down 27-0. They're completely like shitting the bed. The quarterback who has looked fantastic for the last 8-9 weeks through 4 first half interceptions. Like I was giving up, and I was thinking, son of a bitch, like this is the pain that we have been so used to. Like it doesn't even really hurt. It's this like sadness, man. But then all of a sudden they had the touchdown at the end of the half, and then they stopped the Chargers coming out of the half, ends up like scoring again, and then going for 2 like that one time after the penalty. I think it was I forget who it was. Oh, it was Bosa, because Bosa jumped like offsides and he got pissed on the sideline.
Smashed his helmet.
Yeah, smashed his helmet like twice. But yeah, man, that was a miracle. I was screaming in my apartment. My wife's like, "You are so unattractive when you are screaming and pacing around the apartment." I said, "I don't care, because I am the happiest I've ever been in my entire life." I said, "Well, okay, it's tied with the day we got married, babe." But
yeah, there you go. I'm sure she appreciated that.
Save myself
interjection there. But yeah, because I was just living through the game sort of on your Twitter too, just because I see you go, and then 4 interceptions in. I think you had some kind of like, shoot me now, I'll see you next year, kind of like something like that. Then as everything start rolling along, I see, oh geez, Emerson using more caps in his tweets now. Like obviously the excitement's building up there.
Because like there were like Chris, for anyone like who didn't really weren't super glued into the Jaguars this season, and I totally get it. The Jags had multiple comebacks this year of multiple scores. Like, one of the ones too was the Raiders game, like down like 17-0, and then there were about 6 or 7 games this year where it was down. They were down at least 2 scores, and then they came back from down 3 scores, I think in like 3 games or something like that this year. Like they're the cardiac cats, man. Like it's absolute heart attack central. But like I said, dude, like we're all pretty fucking excited about like the future, man. Like at least Jags fans, the Bold City Brigade, dude. It was always the Jags.
There you go. Well, I'm glad it's finally building for you guys for sure. So now, as soon as those clocks hit 0 against the Chargers, how quickly did you order your flight to KC?
Yeah, so that was Saturday night. So I had started, and I thought, man, I definitely fucking jinxed them. So the Friday night before the game, was out to dinner with Meg, and I had started thinking ahead. I was like, I know we can beat the Chargers. We've done it already. We're at home. We're feeling good. I started looking at flights for Kansas City. Dude, they were like $50.
At dinner with your wife, you're just browsing flights.
Like,
I'm sure she loved
it. She absolutely hated it. And so I kind of threw it out there. I said, hey, what do you think? Like if the Jags win, likely going to Kansas City here, and you could come with me. This is very cheap. I got the hookup with 2 tickets. One of my buddies, Howard, who I work with at DraftKings, knows a guy who works for the Chiefs, and he's the one who hooked me up with the free tickets. So once I knew I could get free tickets to the game, I mean, that saves you hundreds of dollars right there.
Huge part, yeah.
Huge, dude. Huge. So the flights are cheap. But then I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait just like one more day, wait late Sunday night, because if the Ravens had pulled that out against the Bengals, I believe the Jags would have gone to Buffalo. I think that's how it would have.
Yeah, because then the Ravens would have gone to KC.
Yeah, because because the Jags being a higher seed, and so that's when I was like, shit, I don't really want to like book all this and then have to change it, and all of a sudden my money just turns to flight credits and stuff like that. But anywho, booked it Monday morning. I didn't really run it by my wife. I didn't. She's like, all right, let's just like talk about it more. She's like, I'm not going to go, but maybe you could take your sister or a friend. I booked it. She got super fucking pissed at me. She's like, you didn't run this by me. And I said, I'm sorry. I know. Please forgive me. I have to do this. Like, this is the one game that I can make it. Jesse was going to cover for me at work. And I called up one of my best friends since kindergarten. I said, he's a doctor in Dallas, and he flew in. Same thing, morning of, like with me. And he was like, I'm totally down. Let's do it. And I don't regret a single fucking thing. I don't. It was a great trip.
It's always easier to ask for forgiveness than permission when it comes to your wife.
And you know this,
we're both husbands of Megs. Yeah. We're both married to Megs.
Yeah. And, I think eventually she kind of, I think she realized like, yeah, this like means a lot to him. And also it's not breaking the bank. Like it was a very cheap trip.
Yeah, for sure. And then now, is this your first trip to KC?
First trip to KC. So like, well, Meg and I, during our moving process, when we moved from Salt Lake City to South Florida, we drove through there one day and grabbed lunch at a barbecue joint. I forget which one it was, but it was like a 45-minute stop and you're back on the road. This was my first more extended time. And I say extended, but it was like 18 hours there.
Yeah.
Didn't get to do anything except landed, went to the hotel, went to the tailgate after the game, kind of blurry afterwards. I think we went to a bar and then I passed out. Yep. And then I got up and got on a plane first thing the next morning. That was it.
That's the best way though. Like in and out. You don't want to linger too long. I feel like especially after a loss, you don't want to just like hang in the city and hear about how you lost.
Yeah, I wasn't like super crushed like after the game. Like I wasn't like I was probably would have been a hell of a lot more miserable. Let's say if we didn't come back against the Chargers and we got blown out. It was an embarrassment. And then people are questioning all offseason, is Trevor the guy, yada, yada, yada. Like we had opportunities to win that game. The Jags had a shit ton of opportunities to win that game. Again, like I said, like I wish Doug Peterson would have stayed aggressive, at least started blitzing like a one-legged Patrick Mahomes. But I don't know, the fans in that stadium, first like time really in the Midwest, Chris. I don't know how much time you've spent there.
Those people are driven through. That's about it.
People are nice as fuck.
I think 36 states in America. Okay. The ones I'm missing are the Midwest.
Dude, the people there were phenomenal. They were so nice. The game day atmosphere there in Kansas City and around Arrowhead is unlike any other, man. Those people are out there tailgating since like 7 a.m. Wow. And they were so hospitable and generous with their glizzies and their liquor and their beer. And they were so nice, like in the stadium, like times where we're cheering. It's not like dicks behind us saying, hey, shut the hell up. Like whatever. No one's talking shit. Everyone's like, damn, that was a pretty good play. And I'm like, yeah, man, it was.
Yeah, I saw you. You seem to embrace the fans there. I saw you like some dude shirts off. You're like, dude, nips, like, hey, let's party.
we met them around like 12:30, like 1 o'clock. We were looking for a friend of a friend who was like, my buddy who lives down in Tampa is an analyst at DraftKings, says, go find my friend at a tailgate. He has a shit ton of barbecue and drinks. Nice. So me and my buddy Jason are looking for them. And as we're looking for them, these Chiefs fans come out of nowhere and they're like, you shall not pass unless you take a shot. So we decided to take a shot. Next thing you know, we're tailgating with them for 3 hours, met around 12:30, 1 o'clock. Everyone's shirtless by 3 o'clock. We're in the game by 3:30. And it was just a really fun time, man.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it seems because a lot of people talk about Arrowhead and the Chiefs fans, and it's kind of cool that you got that firsthand experience. Now, what's Arrowhead itself like, especially for like a playoff environment? That's kind
loud,
of a game, especially
loud. That I won't forget. There was one point I was leaving to go get another hot dog, and my ears were ringing still from like the crowd noise when I was just in the concourse, like in line at the concession stand. And I said, holy shit, I've heard how loud this place is. I hear how electric it is, how full of energy it is, and how great and passionate the fans are. But like nothing could really prepare me for like that noise. And everyone, so one of the guys mentioned, we're like the loudest stadium for Guinness World Book of Records or something like that. Yeah. And I totally believe it. It was really loud. Like, when you leave a concert and your hearing is just like foggy and it's like ringing sometimes, that's exactly what it was, man.
You just got like a dull headache a little bit. It's just like there's a lot of like chaos in your head.
Yeah, dude. And then we took like more shots of Crown like afterwards and stuff too. And I'm not a big shots guy. I mean, hell, I'm old. I shouldn't.
Yeah, no, those days are long gone.
Long gone, dude. But it was just something about that, the energy and being out there at the tailgate. I do. I don't want to be the guy be like, no, I can't do this. Like you're being so nice and offering me so much shit. So I did it.
How would you rank the hot dogs at Arrowhead?
It was good. It was a foot-long hot dog. So when I eventually get my phone back, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the pictures and videos because I was taking a shit ton of pictures and videos for DraftKings. So like when I got back, I was going to get it to our social people and they're going to put together like a reel or like a TikTok or some shit about like my experience out there, like with the fans. And I remember one of the last pictures I took like on my phone was me holding this ginormous foot-long hot dog and like with the field in the background.
Nice.
It was pure art, Chris. It
Well,
was
I'll keep an
pure
eye out for
art.
those once you finally get your phone back, which we'll get to.
Yeah, dude. Oh my
So
God.
what were your expectations heading into KC and like this Jags team coming off the big huge win against against the Chargers?
I mean, I expected them to cover, which they did. Like,
Yeah.
dude, there was part of me that on the betting side, and especially with talking like a lot of our analysts who know a lot more about this shit than I do. Like there was some thought that the Jacks could go in there and they could go on this like magical run, as we've seen like, some teams in the past. Like you've seen some Giants teams like in the past that have kind of been like that, kind of floating around 500, either like a wild card team or
You mean the
really
ones that like beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl?
yeah.
Are those the Giants
Yeah.
teams you're referring to? Yeah, those ones.
Yeah,
I love those teams. My favorite teams to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I bet. But no, I truly expected them to compete. And so I don't understand when Patrick Mahomes goes down and you take away like his mobility. Like, why weren't you putting like more pressure on him? Like you decided to like drop more back like in coverage. And I mean, he's a good enough quarterback, even when he's, a little banged up, that he can still pick you apart. And fuck, man, why didn't they quadruple Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
He had 14 catches, dude. And Trevor Lawrence had that one deep ball to Christian Kirk that was like in and out of his hands.
That was
and
nuts.
you could not throw a better pass than that.
And they blamed Lawrence. They said he overthrew him, but it's clearly went through his hands.
Oh, no. You watched the replay. It was perfect. Like all the big time analysts, Fox Sports, ESPN are all saying that was just such a beautiful throw. And like, you could trust them. And that was the end zone we were in. So they're like, it's like coming at us. And I'm just like, holy shit. That was rough, man. Not being able to like catch that. And then they kept getting like back into it. Yeah. And then they were, they'd go down like 10 and go back within like 7. And then there was that fucking fumble towards the end. And
well, I feel like that was kind of the Chiefs' MO lately, is they've been playing down to their opponents. Like they played one score games with Denver and Houston and all that. So I'm like, you're bringing in a hot Jaguars team and you're trying to say that the Chiefs are going to be almost double-digit favorites? No way.
Yeah. And like, dude, when Mahomes came back in the third quarter, I'm like, bro, step on their fucking throats. Like pedal to the metal. Let's go. Let's be aggressive. Let's be aggressive. But then that's when, Peterson responded to Mahomes being banged up by turning the offense like conservative in the third quarter. He just started, dinking and dunking it, like a variety of like runs and short passes to try to like fuel the attack, man. And, they trailed 17-10 at one point and didn't do a single thing to pressure the Chiefs defense. Like that was huge.
Like, I was dude, sitting there like, what's going on? Like, where's like Trayvon? You drafted Trayvon Walker, and this is like his moment to shine with a
and he was fucking awesome in the Chargers game. But like, so was the offense. Like where did that team go? Like, just fucking run the same plays, do the same thing, because the Chiefs offense, especially like against tight ends, or the Chiefs defense, especially against tight ends. I'm like, why has Evan Ingram been so quiet when he's been such a big reason that Jags went 7-1 since that week 10 loss to the Chiefs? And I'm like, the Chiefs defense can't stop tight ends, and they really can't stop anybody at all. Like, I don't understand all of a sudden why, like the Jags decided to like clench their cheeks. They were so tight, like play loose, man.
Yeah, I think maybe the moment, just a lot of the youth on that team maybe just kind of got to them, I feel like. But now being on, firsthand in the building, what was it like when you see Mahomes go down and he gets rolled up on, he's gimpy? What was the reaction of the crowd? We saw it at home, but, you were there. What was kind of the feeling?
Dude, it was how I told you, it was the loudest like stadium I've ever been in. It went to the quietest stadium I've ever been in, and it took people like a minute, because they're in the game, especially like from a distance where we were in the end zone. Like, you don't really notice like those things at like right away like you do at home with all the camera angles. Yeah. So I remember like after the play, I was like shooting the shit next to this old couple to the right of me, this sweet old lady, and all of a sudden my buddy Jason's like, bro, look at this. Like, wait, Mahomes is like hurt. And he was like leaning over, and you couldn't tell if he was grabbing his knee or his ankle from our angle, but it ended up being his ankle. And he's like limping and he tries to kind of go back in. And when he's like handing off a football, he's literally like jumping and limping on one leg.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. They bring Chad Henne in.
Mm-hmm. And you get to witness history.
The Jags pin him back on the 2. Here comes Chad Henne.
I thought this was the moment for them. I thought that was their moment right there where it's going to change.
Yes, me too. Former Jags fucking quarterback. And here is the Chad Henne revenge drive, longest touchdown drive in Chiefs history, Chiefs playoff history. 98 fucking yards. And it was Chad Henne dinking and dunking it and finding Travis Kelce, you know? And I said, that dude, if we couldn't take advantage, the Jags couldn't take advantage of Mahomes being out of the game. And you know what? Part of me is like, we deserve to lose this fucking game if you allow Chad Henne to orchestrate a 98-yard touchdown drive against you.
Yeah, that was one of those loud moments at Arrowhead when they finally did see Mahomes return after halftime.
Yeah, it was really, when he came out of that tunnel and he came out onto the field, like it was once you heard the exhale, like the sigh of relief, because everyone there too, like halftime on their phones, they're looking for information. And that, I hardly had any service. Even when I did have my phone and it was semi-charged, I couldn't tweet out shit. I couldn't like text my wife. Texts are coming through, but I can't send text. And my wife's like, text me back. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, where are you? I haven't heard from you. Finally, they start going through. I'm like, yo, I'm sorry. I have no service here. It was probably a good thing because like after a few bevies, I don't want to tweet out like anything too stupid or too emotional, especially like after the game, man. But everyone, all Chiefs fans on their phone trying to find some kind of information. Is he okay? Is he done? How bad is this high ankle sprain?
Yeah.
And yeah, they were a very happy bunch when he was back in there.
Yeah, I can believe that because it's just, I was shocked to see him back, and I thought he was definitely going to be out for the game.
Me too, man, because, well, especially after the Henne drive, I'm like, if Henne can lead a 98-yard touchdown drive, they have to know, especially right now with the way the Jags look, that they can win this game going super conservative because clearly the Jags aren't being aggressive enough.
Yeah. Now, based on your firsthand medical, expertise, how injured did Mahomes look on the field?
He looked really injured, dude. Yeah. I was like, he can't fucking walk.
Just because like we can only see what the cameras show us. I'm like interested in what goes on, like when your TV timeouts, like what's he doing on the sidelines? Like, how injured was he?
He's got the whole medical staff like surrounding him, and he's like leaning over in absolute pain and agony. And I haven't had a high ankle sprain, but I heard some of the, one of the worst nagging, annoying injuries.
I think they say it's worse than a break. It would have been better if he broke his ankle, I think.
Yeah. And it's, you saw like the amount of pain that like Mac Jones was in when he fucking dealt with one earlier this year for the Patriots. But Mahomes had this one, an injury like this. What was it? 2018, 2019. Also in the playoffs. And they're saying that this one is not as bad as that one.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, excruciating pain. He couldn't stand straight. He couldn't put any pressure on it.
Yeah, that's nuts. I'm surprised they're saying he's going to play this week, like just to bounce back. And then we'll kind of get into that matchup here, but one of the final wrap ups here for the Jags. I think one of the things that I gained a big respect for T-Law is when he kind of buried his shoulder into Ladarius Sneed in that one run, like because you think he has that pretty boy image, but to see him kind of go, in essence, Josh Allen and go instead of electing to go out of bounds, he just drops the shoulder, gets the first down, and takes on that defender.
Yeah, he was a boss, man. His game was far from perfect, but like, and I know it sounds so stupid, but like they lost that game, but I truly think the Jags enter next year like as a winner, and I think another prime example of how the culture has changed in Jacksonville is you saw, like, I saw it for the first time yesterday, but like Trevor Lawrence standing in the tunnel after the game and dapping up every player on that team
and staff too, like even trainers, staff. Everybody.
Yes, dude. And I'm like, this is a leader, like prime example of like encouraging your guys, lifting them up, putting them on your fucking back like JanSport. And just having like humility, man. And afterwards, positive comments to like the press and be like, listen, this is not the end. This is just like the beginning here, dude. Like, we will be back. And I could not agree more. The Jags will be back in the playoffs next year, man.
Yeah, that division looks terrible. I mean,
yeah,
they should be able to do that for a while. They should be kings of that division for a long time right now.
Totally,
minus
totally
whatever the Titans do, because I love Vrabel, but they're a mess right now as well. But
yeah, they are. I don't know what they're going to do. Like at quarterback, it doesn't sound like they really like what they see in Malik Willis.
So what do you think the Jags need to get in the offseason? What would you like to see them address in the draft or free agency?
Just offensive line and secondary. Shore up the secondary. Make sure beef up that offensive line because there were some serious injuries on the offensive line this year, but you see it with quarterbacks like all the time, Chris. Like, you know how it is. It was a problem here in New England for your guy. Like, the offensive line, it wasn't great for like Mac Jones. Like, you need an offensive line for any of these young quarterbacks to take that next step. And it was pretty good, I'd say, for the most part. You had a rookie or two like on the line. You had a couple of veterans mixed in there. You lost your big tackle like a few weeks ago, but them being able to stay together for the most part, like, played a huge role in Trevor Lawrence growing. And I think hitting that like next level.
Yeah. Well, I think too, them getting finally like giving the ball to ETN and getting rid of James Robinson, I think opened up the offense a ton too, to have
security blanket for Trevor. Yeah, for Trevor Lawrence. And everyone knows the relationship going back to Clemson. And I still say the best thing that ever happened for Travis Etienne in his short career is missing his rookie season under Urban Meyer. Once you got out of that like shit show of an umbrella and his coaching ways and air quotes here. Yeah. Travis Etienne was excellent, man. And he got banged up like a few times too. And the guy stayed in there. Yeah. The guy stayed in there and just kept lowering his shoulder, dude.
Yeah, I'd say the future's bright for your Jags, Emerson. So
I'm excited about it, dude. It's the first time in a while like you're thinking the future's bright, because even after losing the 2017 AFC Championship game to the Patriots, you're still a little nervous because you're like, man, Blake Bortles kind of played above, like way exceeded his expectations. But
you finally have your guy. You don't have like your Gabberts, Bortles, those guys.
Yeah.
All right, Emerson. So like your excitement level for the Jags, I think I'm equally excited for the two games we have this weekend. I was a little bit dismayed to know that there's only 3 football games left this year. That's always sad.
It is sad, man. Yeah. When Jesse said that this morning on the show, I'm like, damn, that's kind of like depressing, dude.
Yeah. So first off, let's kind of keep with the Chiefs here. Bengals at Chiefs. Surprisingly, Chiefs 2.5-point underdogs at home. Personally, I think Chris Jones
that flipped too.
Yeah, I think Chris Jones is a feast. Like we talk about, a lot of people talk about the Bengals O-line being banged up. And I mean, it's kind of repeating history. Last year, I've been on the Bengals. I should have put a future in when I was talking about them, repeating history and everyone's sleeping on them. But here we are again with them on the doorstep of the Super Bowl. How are you liking, or what do you see playing out in the AFC?
Yeah, man. Like you mentioned, like Chris Jones, that like the Chiefs have a really good pass rush. But I don't know how effective they're going to be with how quickly like Joe Burrow has just been getting rid of like the football, dude. And all of a sudden that like refurbished offensive line last week, like we expected that offensive line for the Bengals, right, to be a storyline. And it was a storyline. It was a big storyline after the game, but for a whole nother reason, allowing just 1 sack when you're missing 3 freaking starters on your offensive line, dude. So it's a young cornerback core as well for, Kansas City, which did a good job against a lot of Jacksonville's like top receivers, man. But Mixon and Perrine, like they're in the backfield. Like I think Mixon had his best game like all season last week too. Like against
he was been down since he got that 5 touchdown game. He hadn't, I think, seen the end zone until this week.
Yeah. Like I think this may have been his best playoff game. All right, yes, I think this may have been his like best playoff game, but. I mean, come on, dude. Like Burrow's go-to guys like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. The Bengals are hot as fuck right now. Like there's no reason to think that they're going to cool down. And the Chiefs, once again, kind of have their hands full. And a lot of the shifting of these odds and these numbers here, we know that Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Let's not act like they were blowouts though. I think all those games were like very close. I don't have the games like in front of me here, but I don't know, man. Like how limited is Mahomes gonna be? Like if that thing gets re-injured, that ankle, Like, it's not going to be 100% healthy. Like, he's just not, like, the entire rest of the way, even they make it to the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are out to prove something this year. I think people feel like they slept on them because they went to the Super Bowl last year. Yet you come into this season, everyone's like, "Well, is it going to be the Chiefs or is it going to be the Bills in the Super Bowl this year?" And like, well, what about the Bengals? And I think them kind of getting on the Bills early last week was huge for them. And if they can do the same thing to KC and then force
Yeah.
Mahomes to have to be that playmaker on a bum wheel, I think you're going to see Burrow to Chase probably within one of the first 3 plays going deep.
Dude, I would not disagree with you. Like, listen, he's on point right now, Joe Burrow. He's the healthier of like the 2 quarterbacks, and his track record really is not just this fluke against the Chiefs. There's something about like a Spagnuolo like defense and like his scheming and personnel that Joe Burrow can just like absolutely pick apart. And I'm sure like Patrick Mahomes will be able to like counter most of that, but he's not going to get as much help from his running game and his wide receivers as Joe Burrow, man. I think he gets a second straight shot to hoist the Lombardi, dude, and match Mahomes.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Cincinnati's D is definitely going to be Travis Kelce, like we said. Jags 14 catches for him this week. You know, Cincinnati's got to be double all game. At least have 2 bodies, maybe 3 on them.
Yeah, and the Bengals aren't going to be like the Chiefs aren't going to underestimate the Bengals. Like, you know, like last year, they were underestimated last year throughout like this their like Super Bowl run, you know. So it's I'm taking the Bengals 27-24 in that game.
27-24. All right, tight one.
Yep.
So now let's move over to the NFC, kind of a classic matchup. You got, I think, a great color matchup. You got the Niners against the Eagles.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
2-point favorites at home. Is Mr. Relevant going to be starting in the Super Bowl, Anderson? Or
All right,
Emerson?
dude. No. It's like we talked about, Chris, we talked about yesterday, like on our show. One of our analysts, Jeff Ulrich. So we do Overreaction Monday. And one of our questions was like, all right, is it an overreaction to say that San Francisco should stick with Brock Purdy here through the Super Bowl if they make it there? And he didn't think so. Jeff said, no, I think they should go with Jimmy G if they get the Super Bowl. I said, you're absolutely insane, dude. Yeah. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. They've won what, 11, 12 games in a row now? 12 games, I think. I think it is. This kid is no longer Mr. Relevant. This is Mr. Relevant. And he's been your quarterback, and he's absolutely perfect for your team. He doesn't turn the fucking football over. That's all you need out of a quarterback. Great little game manager. Listen, he ain't out there tossing like gorgeous fucking dimes or 70-yard bombs, but he's doing exactly what you need him to do in a Kyle Shanahan offense, and just run it and don't make mistakes and rely on the unbelievable cast around you. That's it.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking about that team, just all the weapons that they have, like especially adding McCaffrey. Then you have Debo and Kittle and Ayuk. Like it's crazy thinking about all the talent that they've surrounded Purdy with, and it's paid off because you can take a guy who's drafted last in the draft, and now he's on the precipice of starting in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but like, dude, I think I actually may be more excited for this game than I am for Mahomes Burrow, just because like I'm on the Purdy train, dude. I'm all about it. Who the hell doesn't want to see a story like this? You're the last fucking pick in the NFL draft. I don't necessarily even care. You got Christian McCaffrey and all these weapons around you. Debo Samuel, George Kittle, the list goes on and on here. This is not expected. Like, this is not normal. You're not supposed to be doing this like as a rookie, dude.
Yeah.
You're not.
Now to think of the wealth that they have at quarterback, like, so say they go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. Now you got Brock Purdy, you got Trey Lance coming back from injury. Who knows what you're going to do with Jimmy G? What a wealth of, opportunity there you have at quarterback. And then what are you going to do if you have Purdy and Trey Lance? Now you have the number 3 pick a year ago going against your guy who just took you to potentially the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know, man. And the defense too, like on San Francisco, like it's going to be probably the toughest test like of the season, for the Eagles. Although like they looked last week against the Giants, like I was definitely thinking, I was more on the side the Giants were going to at least cover. I thought that game was going to be very close.
So. Yeah, I thought it'd be a lot better of a game, but then they just showed with nothing.
Yeah, and the Eagles looked like that 13-1 juggernaut that started the season. Like it was that. How many yards did they run for? Was it almost 300 or something like that? Like That dynamic running game, a strong passing game, like a balanced defense. Like, first time what? They're hosting the NFC Championship game since their Super Bowl 5 years ago against your boys. Like, I don't know, man. This is a tough one to pick for me. Like, my head tells me the Eagles are going to win this thing, but my heart really wants like the 49ers, dude.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
thinking
know.
the same, but I feel it's all going to come crashing down. I feel bad because I think if it does fall apart for the Niners this game, I don't want it to be it's they had Brock Purdy at quarterback. What would happen if they didn't have Brock Purdy? Well, also Brock Purdy's the guy that got you here, so I hope he doesn't take any heat if he ends up not getting to the Super Bowl with a loss against Philly. But right now,
like,
I'm thinking
doesn't Hurts and Purdy, like, doesn't that feel lopsided to you? You know,
especially
really,
coming off
like,
the game that they just played.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I look at like this, like the support, like each quarterback has to kind of like navigate through what could be like a defensive like draw. Like, I don't know. I almost think like Purdy may have like a better supporting cast. I really do, but I think it's going to be another close one.
I think it'll be close. The over-under right now is 46. And for some reason, I'm thinking we're talking a lot about defenses, but I think this is going to be a showdown of the offenses here. We're going to see a lot of scoring, I feel like, in this game.
I would love that. I truly would. And I could totally see that going in that direction with the, like, we've seen both of these offenses put up a shit ton of points, dude.
Yeah.
We really have. I would love that. Give me, oh my God. Give me 49ers. Give me 49ers like 33, Eagles 27.
All right. So then you got Niners, Bengals. Who's it going to be in the Super Bowl?
I'm going Bengals get their
right.
Bengals get it, man. Bengals get redemption. I'm all on board. I'm on board. I wouldn't hate it if the 49ers won. I just feel like Joe Burrow is just destined right now. He's this man on a mission. This team, Joe Mixon, they all said they knew everyone was counting him out when they had that shit start to the year. And they said, you guys, we remember, we keep receipts. Whatever. I hate when teams do that, but Bengals,
do you see the
Super Bowl.
video of the Chargers? To go back to the Chargers, you see the video they put out with all the receipts? I thought it was an awesome video, but after the point, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's true. And I took a screen grab of that, the one with the receipt that just said no. And I said, are the Chargers making it to the divisional round? And it's just,
I think I saw your tweet first before I had seen the video. I think I saw the video after they had lost. I'm like, oh, that's a cool video. Too bad they lost.
Yeah, it's a they have a great like creative team behind the scenes. Like every time like these teams put out like these videos for a schedule release or any of that shit, like the Chargers always have like a top 5 video.
And then back to Burrow. I think he might be my favorite quarterback in the NFL right now, behind Tom, of course, but it's so hard not to like Joe Burrow. Dude.
He's a really likable dude. You're absolutely right. By the way, is your boy Tom, is he gonna play again? What do you think Tom Brady does?
So I already threw it out last year that I thought he'd end up in Las Vegas with McDaniels again. Yeah, I think I was a year early on that take. I would love for him to come back to New England and, get the band back together. But I'm also heavy in the let's bring Derek Carr to New England band. So I'd love to see him here. Then they're talking about
going to do that. They're going to try to see if they're going to get back to what they got. They got Bill O'Brien today, right? Offensive coordinator, name that. So like, I think they're going to give Mac like one more like full season with a legit offensive coordinator. But then I saw everyone on Twitter talking about, we know how much Tom Brady loves Bill O'Brien. And they're like, there's no way Tom Brady is fucking coming back here and dealing with Bill Belichick shit again.
We'll see. And then they're floating around DeAndre too. And the Pats trying to go after him because Belichick loves DeAndre. But he's 31 years old. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's Nuke anymore, dude. And also, I don't think he likes Bill O'Brien. Oh, from their Houston Texans days, right?
Like that.
Was he the guy that traded him?
Yeah, dude. Yep. Could end up being an issue there, dude.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm all in on Derek Carr right now. I think I'd love to see him out here.
Yeah, when people are like, I can see him going to the Colts as Jags fans, absolutely. Like he's a great human being and he is a great teammate. I just feel like they tried that for 7-8 years out in Vegas, Chris. Like they couldn't like completely put it together. And this year, I don't think 100% on him. Although you've had stories leaking out that like, he didn't enjoy being coached hard by like McDaniels. That's all shit leaked by the team. anyway to like make them look good like on this decision. But their defense was garbage this year, man.
Yeah, they're terrible. But the
Yeah.
amount of fourth quarter comebacks and all that kind of stuff, there's something about Derek Carr that he should be better than what his record reflects, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's a guy and I have no interest like whatsoever rooting for the Raiders, but I do tend to root for dudes who I know are great teammates and legit like good human beings, you know? And he is known throughout NFL circles as being a good dude.
Now, Emerson, I know you got to go, so we'll get you out of here on this. Maybe one other thing after that, but winter weekend, I just hit it up for the Sox. I was telling you before we got on that I think after going, I like the team, like the players on the team more than I think I did before the event. Heim took a beating. Heim Bloom did get a pick with Heim too after he took a beating, so that was kind of nice. What are your thoughts on the Sox right now?
I don't know, man. Like this, I think this team has a lot of relationships to repair, a big relationship to repair, and that's with its fan base right now. Like, especially like hardcore fans like yourself, those who were going to Winter Weekend, you guys are fucking around. You've been with this team through thick and thin, and you've also been through hell and back. And you kind of see that no longer this team, in my opinion, is a priority to the Red Sox. Or
to John Henry, at least.
It's ownership. No. Yeah. And it was so weak for NESN to cut out the John Henry and Chaim Bloom, like a lot of parts where they were getting hammered.
Did you watch the town hall? Because I'm interested because I was there. So I didn't know like what actually got broadcast.
So I heard Toucher and Rich this morning was talking about it. And Chad Finn with the Boston Globe was tweeting about it as well. And another one of my buddies who I've talked to, John Reed, neighbor of mine down a couple blocks, mentioned how they cut all that shit out. And it's the most NESN Red Sox thing ever. Just completely make it seem like something that it was not. You know, it's just like little corporate PR BS, like at its finest. But I don't know. We talked to Jared this morning on our show. And he was like, listen, winning fixes everything. It's just, I don't really know if they're going to be doing a whole lot of winning this year. And if they are, like, great. Just like everyone kind of thought, like 2 years ago, like, could this be similar to that 2013 team where there's like a bunch of these veterans and they almost made that run. You just ran to the Astros again. But last year was embarrassing, a last place finish. I don't know if the team is like a whole lot better. And in the Story situation, what the fuck was that about? Like, why didn't you have your surgery? I know, I saw that. And then being like, I hope to play. Bro, you have like a fake arm on right now. You ain't playing this year, dude. You're not.
You look like you can see robot arm.
Yeah. And you can see some of the moves they made. They're going to like, try to have like a bridge here, someone just to fill the gap there. But like, I don't know. I don't have a very, very strong second baseman and shortstop. Like
middle
of that infield is not very strong.
We just added Adalberto Mondesi today from KC,
who had 7 stints on.
I think he's played
a
full season. Yeah,
he's had 7 stints on the IL since 2018. The guy hasn't played more than like 50 games in a season, I think, his entire career.
Yeah, so not looking too far, but it's definitely what I think the Red Sox didn't expect is the fan reaction, because anytime John Henry talked, he got booed. I think there's a big contingency of Red Sox Nation at this point that wants him to sell the team, even though they are the Fenway Sports Group. I think at this point we're like, we've had enough.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. Listen, he's got his hands in a lot of cookie jars, and you could kind of see how it doesn't seem like he's 100% committed. Like on the surface, it doesn't look like that this is his priority out of all of his investments anymore.
And I felt bad for Jared too, because he came out first when they introduced everybody. So I don't know if you talked to him afterwards. They had him come out first. I knew it was strategic because he got his big ovation, and then the rest of the front office came in after him, and they got all booed. But they wanted to have Jared go first, I think, to get that ovation. Hey, maybe it'll carry through everyone, but that didn't happen. Then I think TC shut Jared down too, because he was like, "Oh, what are those boos for me?" And TC was like, like right into the questions for the team. But also John Henry was deferring to Sam Kennedy a bunch. Like he was
dude, I don't understand this, Chris. Like he's like, what other organization has the president talking about like the baseball ops side of things? No other organization does it. If the Jags team president says anything, it's about like the new concession stands or a new addition to the stadium or renovations. No team president in sports talks about the nuts and bolts of baseball. Like Sam Kennedy wants to be like the baseball GM guy so bad. I don't understand what he's doing half the time and why they trot him out there to answer baseball questions. It's just all this PR bullshit. It's terrible. It sounds awful.
Yeah, and I think I gained a little bit more respect for Heim too after all this, because I feel like he's been just playing with just a down deck, if you want to say that. Like he had to come in and trade. Like he's never been able to have anything good happen under his watch, and he has to be that voice piece for John Henry and Tom Warner, these guys who are recluses in Massachusetts. Like we don't see these guys. I think the first time we saw John Henry since like last year was at the Winter Classic, and that's conveniently the next day Devers is signed to a 13-year contract.
Yeah. It was funny. There was that guy who made the poster that was taken by security guards. It was like Pay Devers or something, and he was also wasn't John Henry booed out there too?
Exactly. Like I wish I had a guy like, you know, Tony Khan and Shad Khan, who are the Jags guys who are just like love it. They're big, of course, entertainment guys with AEW and all that. But those are like the owners you want to have, the Cuban-esque guys, the guys who just like love the team and want to do what they can to make the team the best it can be. And just, you don't feel like you have that right now with the Red Sox.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and Khan's made his fair share of mistakes, but man, he got this hire absolutely right with Doug Peterson. And I'll be the first to admit, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like at first, I really wanted Byron Leftwich. It turns out I was completely wrong. And I am happy to admit that. I am very happy to admit that. Like I love the direction.
Got a big coming home party if they hired Byron Leftwich. Oh my God.
That's whatever. I think that's what, I mean, coming off the Urban Meyer thing, that's what everyone in Jacksonville want. Like we were just jonesing for some kind of like happiness and then like that nostalgia factor of like Leftwich back in town. But you know what? Listen, sometimes the number one thing you want is the best thing that never happened to you. And I'm really happy that didn't happen.
Yeah. All right. Last thing, Emerson, you lost your phone in KC. Did Meg at all think you were dead possibly at some point?
Yeah, everybody did. Like I'm sitting here and I'm you know, now I still don't have it on me. Apparently I left in an Uber, you know, leaving a bar that night. And you know, my memory's a little foggy. We had to, you know, find the Uber driver. It was my buddy's Uber, so he was contacting him all day, me trying to travel back and not having a phone and communicating with my wife through like random strangers' phones, just letting her know like I'm okay. My flight is taking off. I have landed. I'm going to take a cab home because obviously I can't order a Lyft or an Uber right now. Uber guy ended up finding in the back of his car, mailed it to me yesterday. It should get here like at sometime this week, but he's communicating with the friend I went with to the game, who's communicating with Meg, who's communicating with me. But like now I'm calling my friends. And when I need to talk to them, I'm setting up Zoom meetings with people.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I got like an IG message from you yesterday. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. So it's like, I didn't even know that you could log on to IG like on your laptop or your desktop, but that's me. And half of my friends are like, are you the first fucking person to ever send a message or like post something on your Instagram on IG, like from your computer? And I think like, yeah, I am. And it's weird. I have a lot of like free time. Like I can focus on shit, not be distracted. But part of me does like I have so much shit like on there for work, and I want to see all the videos and pictures that I took, like the picture.
You want to reflect on what your foggy memories, what actually happened.
Yeah. Oh man, it was you know what? I blame the incredible Chiefs fans. They gave me too much alcohol, and I can't say no, especially when my wife's not there to say no for me.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you made it safe and sound back from KC and had a great time, Emerson.
Thanks,
congratulations on your Jags season. I'll let you get back to your big DK things. Why don't you get your plugs out, let everyone know where they can follow you and check you out.
Yeah, guys, give me a follow on Instagram or Twitter, like, you know, Emerson Lotzia on Twitter, the Emerson on Instagram. I'm starting to do a little more TikToks and Snapchatting. And once I get my phone back, we're gonna make a big ass reel or TikTok, and I think we're gonna kind of build it up like it's the end scene of The Hangover, where they find like the phone and they're like,
I like it.
This is what was on it. So I think that's kind of the idea cooking in our head right now.
Cool. I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll do some retweeting for you for sure when that pops. But Emerson, thanks as always for joining us, and maybe we'll catch up once that dreaded Sox season starts up.
Yeah, you got it, too. Keep jagging off. All right.
All right. Take it easy, bud.